Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Live number 105 for the review of the 2022 SummerSlam, the first SummerSlam ever in the history of SummerSlam without Vince McMahon at the helm here. And it was one hell of a show. Wow. There's a lot of changes that we have to talk about on tonight's show. Things felt different, felt exciting, felt fresh in a way. You rarely ever hear me come on and talk about commentary, but I'm going to talk about commentary today because I'm really excited about those changes.
You're jumping right there. Goodness.
I'm jumping. I'm really excited to talk about this show. I'm excited. I'm excited to have covered it tonight. It's like one of those shows where I talk about feeling that energy, coming through the recap. I was feeling it tonight. And I'm excited for Wrestleview. We had a ton of people on the site tonight checking out these results. There's a lot of big results, a lot of big news to talk about here. And I am privileged and honored to talk about these results with this fine collection of individuals here. There are actually, believe it or not, 4 screens, but 5 of us here. Okay. We have Mr. Roy Nemer, our dear SmackDown recapper.
Mike, what's up? How are you? How's everybody doing? Crazy SummerSlam, very memorable. We're going to get into it. I'm super hyped for this, super excited.
Heck yeah. We got Mr. Jerome Wilen, our Wrestleview reporter.
Hello. Yep, I'm excited to talk about some things I like tonight, and so we'll get into that later.
All right. And we have a very pregnant Victoria with us. We didn't get to say it on the post-Raw show, but that's why I said there's 5 of us here, because there's also a tiny human inside of her right now. I may have put it there, but she's doing all the work on growing it. She's working right now on growing an ear and an eye for this child. Victoria.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm pregnant, and that's why I've been so sick.
And that's why we haven't really been able to do some post-Raw shows, because the morning sickness for this second child has been unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You really wouldn't have wanted a show.
If you ever see Victoria all of a sudden stop talking and then all of a sudden my face comes up like this on the post-Raw show,
just know there's
Victoria is scurrying off camera. Oh man, we got a SummerSlam and a half to talk about tonight. And before we do, we have a great collection of people here to listen to us talk about it. One of them celebrated a birthday right here, Mr. Eastside Reviews, Jamel. Happy birthday to you. Happy belated to you, my friend.
Woo!
And somebody who actually attended SummerSlam live. That is the Wrestleview fiend, Mr. Andrew Elder.
Woo!
Roy, on your show, what is Andrew Elder?
Yeah. The special counsel, pretty much.
The special counsel.
Special counsel, yeah.
The wise man.
The wise man, that's it.
The wise man.
Andrew, happy belated birthday to Andrew as well.
Yes, happy belated birthday to Andrew. And we're working on getting him onto the show in a little bit to talk about what it was like to be there live at SummerSlam for one of the damnedest, most wild main events that I think I've seen in quite some time. Talk about spectacle here.
Ever?
I don't know about ever, but I mean, I really have to rack my brain, but it's the damnedest I've seen in years. It might be the damnedest one that I ever recapped.
That's true.
In my head, I'm like, how is Mike going to recap this? Like, Lesnar gets in the trailer, gets in the tractor, and I'm like, what's he going to write for this?
Okay, here's a funny story before I read down the results of this show and we start talking about it. I still have a tab open for johndeere.com. I was looking up like the different kinds of tractors they have, because I was like, what is this contraption on here? Like they're like, oh, he brought the farm to SummerSlam. And I'm like, oh, I don't know anything about farms. I should have actually, I should have texted Adam Martin, living in Iowa. And this, he probably drives one of those to work every day. There's nothing but corn out there.
Adam's is a good old country boy.
He is. Whether he wants to admit it or not, he is. We got Uncle Billy here. We got Save Shock here. We got Daniel Shell. We got the belated birthday boy, Mr. Eastside Reviews, Jamel. We're going to be getting Andrew Elder, working on getting him on here to talk about his live experience at SummerSlam. Nafis Sadat, our dear friend, Quentin Walters, doing our job for us here. Welcome to the show. Please subscribe, like, share this podcast, Plus, hit the notification bell so you can be up to date on any wrestling news. Of course, go to Wrestleview.com. And also, Victoria's pregnant. We got Randy Torcola. We got Goosey is here. Mr. Anthony Oberstar. He's I think he might even be excited about WWE right now. And that would be a miracle. That would be a miracle. Hassan Terrell here. Chris Elgie. I'm gonna miss somebody here. I know Mashoon Walls is here. I got there's people here. Okay, I'm just gonna just say hello and I'll say hello to you back. All right, big show. Lots of people are anxious to hear the results, so let's just go over them real quick and then we're gonna go do our thing here. All right. First match of the show: Bianca Belair defeats Becky Lynch to retain the Raw Women's Championship. Good match. Logan Paul defeated The Miz. Sorry, Victoria.
Whatever.
No
comment.
I think when I ask everybody for their favorite matches of the night, that I don't think that Victoria's going to be going for The Miz. Are you?
I don't want. Can you just read through the results?
Okay. Yeah, I can. But I just want. I know you're a big Miz fan, so this is a polarizing match.
Can you not aggravate me right now?
Logan Paul.
Can you please just go?
Like you're making her miserable.
I've just grown so accustomed to this couch. It's so comfortable, Jerome. It's such a nice couch. I've wound up on it so often.
Watch it.
Used to.
It's just like a Pavlov's dog thing. I'm like, oh, it's my chance to sleep on the couch.
Anytime you come on here, it's like, what way can I piss off Victoria?
As soon as the podcast bell comes on, I'm like, oh, this is my time to sleep on the couch, man. This is great. Bobby Lashley defeated Theory by submission to retain the United States Championship. The Mysterios defeated the Judgment Day to no disqualification tag team match after Edge came back to interfere. Pat McAfee defeated Happy Corbin. Wow, that actually, I totally forgot about that match for whatever reason. The Usos defeated the Street Profits with Jeff Jarrett as a special guest referee. The Usos retain the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. Liv Morgan defeated Ronda Rousey to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. Controversial finish there. Morgan had Ronda Rousey's shoulders pinned, but as the referee was counting to 2, Liv Morgan tapped out to an armbar. But that was not caught. So we'll talk more about that. And then finally, I'm telling you, one of the damnedest, most wild main events I've seen in quite some time. Probably one of the most wild main events in WWE history. I think we could say that at least, is Roman Reigns defeating Brock Lesnar in a last man standing match to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Tables, lighting trusses. Oh yeah. And a tractor. Roy, I'm sweating. Help me. What did you do to the show?
Wow, what did I think of the show? If you did not give this show a thumbs up, I'm sorry. I don't know what will make you give the show a thumbs up. Top to bottom, this was incredible. Every match, there were 8 matches on the show. Dare I say 6 of the 8 were good to just freaking tremendous. The start of the show, the match itself, finally they know what they're doing with Bianca Belair. That was such a good match. Her and Becky. Then you get the returns, and then you get freaking Logan Paul flying off the top. There's so much stuff to get to. I loved it. I loved this show so freaking much, and the crowd was really into it as well, which was good. And you got everything. Everything.
It actually felt like I don't want to start talking too much because I want to give you guys a chance to talk, but I'm like really excited about this show. But it felt like the WWE that like I grew up with, like a variety show, different style matches, people, it just seemed like everybody was like working extra hard, like almost like, some overbearing cloud of creative blockage was lifted off of these people, and they were allowed to do what they do best, which is, professional wrestle.
And not just the wrestlers.
Exactly. The commentary. Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to get carried away here. Jerome, what did you think of the show? You got to watch this show. It was going to be hit or miss whether Jerome got to watch the show. But
Yep.
we had great news from his daughter qualifying in her competition
Woo!
today. And now Jerome
Yep.
did get home in time to watch this entire show. So Jerome, not a lover of current day wrestling, but did this strike your fancy?
So this is the first time I've been excited about a WWE product since 2019.
Wow.
Tony Khan, take notice, because I think his mediocre. This was a great show. This was the WWE I remember back when it was WWF. The variety, good storytelling, and so I think that I think Tony Khan needs to wake up and take notice that.
It's actually that's a good point. You know, it's like, you know, I don't know if like Tony Khan's like real like needs to like wake up, but like
He does.
I get what you're saying. Like you know, he it's like WWE woke up. Actually, it's like Tony Khan's been like kind of like shadow boxing like a sleeping giant for like so long.
So Fyter Fest Night 2, he had this barbed wire everywhere match. It was lame. It was rushed. It was just lame. And then this coming week, he's got a dumpster match. It's like gimmick matches back to back. It's like he needs to take notice that
you can burn out real quick on that stuff.
Yeah.
So
you should have watched SummerSlam. Hopefully, you watched SummerSlam tonight and took notice.
But that's the thing, you know. And it's not an AEW show, so I don't want to get too much on it. But you know when that's the trap that WWE has fallen into for like the last 10 years. Would you agree with that, Jerome? Like, instead of like building characters and building like strong storylines, it's an over reliance on gimmicks, you know. So it's not like it's not like, oh, we have this excellent rivalry that people want to tune in to see. No. We're just going to book a pay-per-view that will have a Hell in a Cell match that will just shoehorn some boring ass rivalry into and turn that into the Hell in a Cell match, you know. And it hasn't worked. Over reliance on gimmicks. So this will be, you know, should serve as a wake up call that, you know, you were shadow boxing, you know, a diminished Vince McMahon, you know, a creatively diminished Vince McMahon. You know, as a guy in business, I can never take away anything that Vince McMahon accomplished, right? You know, we're going to be wrestling with that legacy for quite some time, I think. You know, there's no doubt what he did was despicable and horrible, and his exit from the company will forever tarnish that legacy. But as a businessman, wow, you know, so. But creatively bankrupt, I would say, for the last 10 years, and getting lucky based on brand recognition and name, you know, a name value of like WrestleMania and stuff like that. So he's been getting lucky in that sense.
Right. Now, I never really cared. I'm sorry. I never really cared for Triple H, the wrestler, but Paul Levesque is a creative mind for this product. Yeah, he's got it going on right now.
Well, I mean, it's been a week, not even yet, but I mean, I see good things so far. You know, I mean, we're, you know, let's talk, you know, we can mention that opening segment, you know, and good things abounding, you know, just right there. People that, you know, like a Bianca Belair, you know, a Dakota Kai who got released in April, and tonight was her first night back. Nobody knew that she's re-signed with the company. You know, and Io Shirai, who's been languishing in nothingness for a long time, you know, because Paul Levesque was removed from power. These people who really belong on the main roster doing big things that were never given a chance because, you know, the old guy didn't get it or wanted to remake them in his own image. You know, it's like, you know, Bianca Belair was spectacular tonight because she was able to be Bianca Belair. Dakota Kai, I think, is going to do great. I was like, I couldn't believe when they released Dakota Kai in April. I could not believe it. It was a sin. And then Io Shirai, what an unbelievable performer she is. You know, like, now these people are going to get an opportunity, and at the same time, taking an anemic, derelict Raw Women's division and immediately infusing 3 great new talents into it. If that's the Triple H way, sign me up. Okay, Victoria, what the heck do you think of this show? And we're gonna kick off with you and our unborn daughter. What was your favorite thing from tonight? So first, give me your thoughts on the show, and then tell me what your favorite thing was on the show. I'm sure we're going to be talking about the main event in T-minus 5 seconds.
I honestly, Roy put it best before. If you did not like the show, there's something seriously wrong, and you're just a very pessimistic individual, and you really should, get some training to change your mindset, because honestly, the show from start to finish was really good. Even the matches that weren't 100% doing it for me, that maybe have been a little underwhelming than most of the show, but that's because everything else was just so spectacular and just so incredible that anything that was a little bit lackluster wasn't even that much of a lackluster. It was just I didn't find myself sitting there bored to tears and not really wanting anything to not happen. It went by so fast, and it just kept you entertained, and it was a good first pay-per-view with under Triple H's reign in this creative control. It's a very good indication, for first impressions mean everything, especially in this company. Now that you have legitimate competition with AEW, right? So the fact that, everybody knew, it was a secret it wasn't a secret to everybody else, but Vince himself, that Triple H had it. He did. NXT proved that. But now that he totally is in that aspect and has that creative control, this was good. This was a good way to showcase this is what's to come.
Yeah. I think that's a great, and look, again, we said on Raw, on the post Raw show, that Raw after at Madison Square Garden was really well done. And I'm not saying that Triple H wrote the whole show and turned it around, and that he didn't take some of Vince's storylines and continue on, or at least even take what Vince might have even written already and just ran with it. The Logan Paul segment kind of shows that he did. But there were positive changes moving forward. And we talked about how great it is, again, to just dream on how good, this company could be again, rather than just I can't tell you how many times, or Roy, you've seen it when you're recapping. How many times have we seen a guy or a girl catch fire, and immediately in the back of your mind, you're just thinking, how are they going to drop the ball on this person?
A billion times, and to the point where you're like, why should I even get invested into these guys? There's no way. There's no way. And now something you spoke about Raw last Monday, right? We're 1 week in, and I'm not trying to get my hopes up, but we're 1 week in, and we could already tell there's a drastic difference going on. I was covering SmackDown last night, and SmackDown started off right away. Drew McIntyre's music hits, we get a match. No opening promo, none of that bull, whatever you want to call it. It was straight to the point. And now it looks like, okay, wait a minute. If we look at tonight, we got Bayley that came back, and Bayley, the pop that she got right away, Hiro Shirai, Dakota Kai, all three of them come out, and now you can tell, okay, there's a direction. They're going to do something with them. And the reason why is because Triple H knows them very well. He knows them very well with NXT. Jerome said it. Paul Levesque, the man himself, is a very good wrestling mind, or at least creatively speaking. So now we actually have a reason to get invested in them. We actually have expectations. My expectations for this I'm trying to keep them minimal, but are pretty high, at least in terms of some sort of character development.
And it's been so long since we've been able to feel that way, and I think it's okay to let our imaginations and our hopes run away with us a little bit. It's just, this is what we've all been clamoring for. Now, of course, we've been clamoring for it under the impression that, when we start getting excited about wrestling again, unfortunately, we'll also be talking about Vince's death, but we're only talking about Vince's professional death now, rather than his physical death, which I actually prefer to, because I figured the guy would be carried out of some podunk arena, in a body bag at some point, just dead at the creative table, because he would just never leave. So he professionally killed himself. And now we can start to dream without actually having to also give an obituary for the guy. So that's pretty good. It's a win-win for everybody, I think, here. Anyway, it's just, it's really exciting to be excited about wrestling again. I feel it. I think the people in the chat room feel it. The other 3 panelists here also feel it. Actually 4. And Victoria, let's start with you. What was your favorite thing from tonight's show?
The main event.
There we go. The main event.
It had everything that you could ever, dream about in a last man standing match. This tractor, that really solidified everything. Just not that I thought, I knew at some point that he probably would lift him and put him into the ring. When you see it, you're like, okay, I could predict some things in my mind that could potentially happen. And then I had a feeling that they were going to shove the ring and it was going to push and it was going to whatever. But when you physically see it happen, you just can't believe your eyes. You can't believe what you're witnessing. Like a damn tractor was in this match and it didn't take away from anything in terms of storyline. Like it wasn't like this hokey addition to the match. It just made it brought in the seriousness. This match had the seriousness between, this aggression between these two guys and, this long feud between them, but it also brought in that comedic piece to it where you had this tractor and they're playing and they're having fun with it. And and then even Paul Heyman, what happened when he got F5'd, when he was like, just take the titles, don't do this anymore. Everything just made sense to me. And nobody looked like, I like the way it ended too, because there was a point right before, when they started throwing all the equipment on him and everything that they could find, that I thought to myself, I'm like, right before that, it was the title hitting the face and then he was down and you're like, oh, come on. Mike and I were both like, this can't end like this. It can't all this brutality and, a title to
on the edge of my seat. No, I stupid title shot.
You're like, no, a title shot's going to be the thing that keeps him down. No, that can't be. But, the way they played it out, the entire thing from start to finish just made sense. And it was entertaining on top of it.
I have to say, I never thought that I would ever be able to truly get into a Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match ever again. I even said, at the beginning of it, I was like, what did I say, Victoria? Embarrass me. Go ahead.
Wait, what did you say at the end? I don't even remember.
Oh, good. I don't have to be embarrassed tonight. Never mind. Shows how much my wife listens to me.
Shut up.
Essentially, what I said was, right as they were, getting started, even though Brock started the match by diving off of the tractor, 1 minute into it, after he dove off the tractor and they were fighting the crowd, I was like, how long is this gonna go for? I'm kind of
see, I didn't even I remember you saying that, but
and then when you started lifting up that damn ring, I was like, so excited. I don't know, it was so weird.
I think for you, in defense to you, I think what happens is obviously, and
defending me.
Roy, too, when you have to recap, it's hard. It's exhausting, and especially when you're doing a pay-per-view, it can get tiring. So when you're seeing, again, these two guys, this feud's been a while, we all know, but when that happened, you're like, oh, okay, I gotta take a break. But you had a resurgence. You were like, woo, I'm back in.
They pulled me right into it. Roy, what are your thoughts on this main event? What stood out to you?
Paul Heyman took a freaking bump. Since when does Paul Heyman take bumps?
Rarely ever. I think the last time I saw Paul Heyman take a bump was in some cage match in 2004 or something like that. I was like, what?
He doesn't take bumps. This has to be in his contract that he doesn't take bumps. And Lesnar, I think, tried to be pretty gentle with him. Obviously, he didn't go too high when he threw him. But that was cool to watch. That was so fun to watch. And I loved on commentary, which I feel like if Vince was in their ear, we would have gotten it a lot, was we really did not get any mention of Theory in this main event. I know he showed up, but I have a feeling if Vince was still there, every 2 minutes, he would have gotten Michael Cole oh, when is Theory going to cash in? Oh my God, is anything going to be left for Theory? We didn't get that, which felt so good. And the fans were into it. And when that ring kind of he lifted it, kind of flipped, the fans just went crazy. I think everyone went crazy. I was literally holy beep. I have a buddy of mine actually in Texas. He's a doctor. He works in an ER. and he's a massive Brock Lesnar fan, loves wrestling as well. So he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, what's your brother's website?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Well, Wrestleview.com." He's like, I'm at the ER with a colleague of mine, and we're watching SummerSlam. I'm like, "Oh shoot, that's pretty cool." Yeah. And this is like right before the main event. And then he was texting me throughout the main event, and that's when I knew that a casual wrestling fan is actually enjoying the show. I'm like, forget me. I'm a diehard wrestling fan, so I know I'm going to enjoy the show. But is a casual wrestling fan going to enjoy it? And he did. He really did. And that, I think, shows just how well this main event was planned out and structured.
Yeah. You know, it like they promoted this as like, this is it. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns will never, unless you're Drew McIntyre, who said they were facing for the first time tonight, which was an excellent promo. Such a great promo. I loved it. I loved everything about Drew McIntyre's promo because he made a mistake and just rolled with it. It was so good. It was like he made a mistake and was like, "Oh, I made a mistake, so I'm not going to continue on with my lines until I fix this because now I look stupid." They built this as like, this is it. This is the final clash of Brock and Roman. And it's like, okay, you know, when they promoted the winner take all match at WrestleMania, it was, you know, we did not get taken to Suplex City. We got taken to Dudsville City here. It was just not good. I thought it was extremely disappointing, not very befitting of the build that the match had, and not very befitting of what I expect from a WrestleMania main event. And this more than made up for it. It was a spectacle. They threw everything. Except the only thing I was missing literally this time was the kitchen sink. A tractor, insanity. What happened in this match? And it was a hell of a good time. You know, like I can't remember the last time I watched a Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match. I'm like, oh, this is like, you know, probably, I don't know, maybe SummerSlam 2018.
How many times have we watched, like, the main event comes and you're like, oh.
Well, lately, like, quite a bit.
You know,
and
come on.
It doesn't seem like that is over yet. But we're gonna. I do want to talk about the ramifications of the result, though. But we're gonna do that in a few minutes. We're gonna be joined briefly here right now by Mr. Andrew Elder, who was there live at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. He's also he is another year older as of Friday. Yep. So we wish Andrew Elder a very happy birthday.
Thank you. This was actually my birthday present, so it just topped off my birthday. It was just, it's the best present to have, and to be, you know, here in Nashville, Tennessee, and to see it live, you know. And this is my first of the big four. You know, I don't count Money in the Bank as part of the group. I know they're trying to get it to be that, but I don't count it that way. Yeah.
Well, it seems like under Triple H, I don't know if there will be just four big ones. It's like they're gonna go all out, balls to the wall every single time. I kind of like that move.
Yeah.
Andrew, you were there live tonight. You've been following the weather forecast all week. It was supposed to have thunderstorms as of Monday or Tuesday, and it looks like the weather held out. What was it like being in Nissan Stadium? How, you know, what was it? Was it hot, windy? Was there some drizzle? What was the atmosphere like? What was the crowd like? Give us a rundown of what your experience was sitting in the seats at SummerSlam tonight.
Well, one of the first things I'll say is these people who run Nissan Stadium did not know what they were doing. They made us wait when they had the countdown to wait outside. They made us wait about maybe 7 or 10 minutes after that countdown went. They were all like, the security people were like, well, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? When we got in, there were at least on the lower level where we were above the entrance, that's where we were sitting, there were no ushers. I don't know how many people came to me and asked me, what section is this? Where do we go? They didn't even know how to get on the ground. They didn't know where to go to get down on to be at ringside.
Are they sure that they didn't have this at MetLife Stadium? Because that's the same experience we had at Elton John this past weekend.
Yeah, I don't
X
know.
Awards.
Elton John's supposed to come here in October, so I don't know how they're going to handle that either. But I really liked being around the entrance because I could see stuff. I saw them bring in the tractor. I saw them bringing in, I know you'll probably talk about it later, but Edge's entrance thing.
That's
It
awesome.
was really nice being up above the entrance area.
That's
But
great,
it was
great seats.
we had worried about either it was going to be hot because we've been in the 100 degrees, close to 100.
Yeah.
Then we were worried about, it was going to rain or so. It held off. The rain stayed away, but it was humid. It was humid and hot.
Okay.
Finally, about like towards later in the evening, we got a really nice breeze, but it was humid because it was about 82 or 84 degrees and it felt like 88 or 90. And
Okay.
I sweated. I really sweated. Yeah.
All right. What did you think of the atmosphere? How were the people tonight? And by the way, I have to ask because you were there live. Was that Tiny Balls chant real, or was that piped in?
Yes, unfortunately,
Was it really? Yeah, come on,
the
Nashville.
only place that would pick it up would have to be here in Tennessee. That they actually picked up the Tiny Balls. Yeah, even over in my section, there were people going Tiny Balls. So, yeah.
Did you hold out or did you join in?
I did not join it. I did not join in.
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew, are you telling me the truth?
Yes, I did not
Andrew
join
would lie
into.
to us.
No, I did not join into that chant. There might have been other chants that joined in, but that was not the one. And I don't get Paul Logan. He's not over. He's a heel. So was Miz. It was, and people couldn't even figure out really who to cheer for.
I was going to ask you that. Was there a discernible difference? But you're saying no. Like
no, it was mixed. And then maybe at the end when Logan won, it was like they cheered, but it was like maybe it was just for like, hey, well maybe because the match is over or whatever.
Right.
Oh,
so what did you think of the main event? Like how was that live, and especially after the ring got lifted up?
I was like, first I had told my uncle, I said, they're going to use that tractor. It's coming into play. And I was right. And then I was like, oh man, he's going to turn that ring over. He's going to flip the ring. And he did. And wow. And that just, wham, that just popped the whole stadium. When that happened, it was just like everybody was like, because the typical holy shit chant started.
Yeah.
It was all over. It was just wow.
Now, Andrew, you've been going to wrestling shows since the mid '80s as a child.
Yeah.
So you've gotten to see like Jerry the King Lawler and like those great old school Memphis shows. How did this stack up? That main event, was that as wild as some of those Memphis brawls they used to have?
Yeah. Which the Memphis wrestling got crazy. I mean, fire in action and just they go all over the place. There was times where they get up all the way up in the stands with the crowd. So yeah, and of course, which we didn't see much of, but blood. That was back in the time when you really saw the blood. Yeah.
I thought we were going to get a little blood on this show. I mean, we did. We got some hard way blood. Brock's back was definitely cut up. Roman's elbow was cut up a little bit, but nothing like crazy. But I mean, other than the blood, the violence was certainly kept you going. It was, it's like you almost didn't need the blood. The blood would have been like a little extra, too much.
Yeah.
So it was just the right amount of violence for me. I kind of liked it.
Andrew, what was underwhelming for you? Was there anything underwhelming that you thought like didn't really need to see that? Like it was more like the bathroom break,
or didn't connect with the crowd.
Yeah.
I know. I was talking to Johnny McDonald, who was up here too. We were talking about the entrance way. It's kind of, I know they're kind of going for smaller entrance, but it kind of takes away. And that from the point there and that's where the Titans football players come out to the mid where the ring was, that's 50 yards. So it was about 75 yards. Because it was kind of funny. Bobby Lashley had to jog out to that podium thing, he had to jog out there. Yeah, because they kept on playing Austin Theory's music while he was getting out there.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
kind of hard to pick a underwhelming. Maybe I think I actually will put it's Riddle and Seth Rollins that fight that was to me kind of pointless.
Interesting.
It just didn't to
I-
me. Other than him being out Riddle to go out there, so I was kind of like, well, man, maybe Randy Orton's here and he might come in and do RKO.
I
Or
thought that for a
some-
second.
And
Yeah.
I thought, well, there's got to be somebody, or Real would say, well, I can't go, but here's this guy, and they come out. But it was kind of like, okay, we just had them out there for that. Like you could have did that on Raw. You could
Right.
actually did that on Raw.
I agree with that. I thought that didn't really help him. How did the SmackDown Women's Championship? How did that finish play to the crowd? Did you understand what was going on? That right before the 3 count was made, that Liv Morgan tapped out there, and that she actually lost the match. And
it was actually kind of confusing because I didn't see the tap. I actually saw where, the part where Ronda's shoulder is up. And, I saw that part. I'm like, okay, but it was kind of like, you had to pay attention to the screen and like when they showed the
right.
replay, but they didn't show great replays in the stadium.
yeah,
And I was like, but Ronda
finish
did turn heel.
Yeah.
So
that finish
semi-heel.
reminded me a lot of Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2015. We were there live for that one, where they did a finish where, or a false finish where Undertaker tapped out, but the referee was out of position and didn't see it, and then Undertaker wound up like getting the win, based off of that. And we were totally confused in the arena because they didn't. Again, no great replays. It's like it's almost like you have to be watching it to understand what the hell you just witnessed. So I thought that was a little. That to me, if I had to pick one, I was interested to hear that reaction. Were people into Ronda Rousey? Because it really seemed like the crowd reaction wasn't there for that match.
It wasn't. I don't know if it was we were just tired from everything else and wanting to get to the main event, but it was like, because Liv got a pop, but but Ronda, it was kind of not there much. I think other than her semi-turning heel, hopefully they continue with that or figure it out. But
yeah,
and stuff. But I can tell you one thing that was just got the biggest, hugest pop is when Dakota Kai, Bailey, and
awesome.
Io Shirai, the place just went crazy because we were kind of like, is there more people coming out here? Is there more, people coming out? Like, are we going to have more women coming out that had left or something, and they came back? That had the hugest pop in the stadium.
Right. She's actually being known as Io Sky, IYOSKY.
Wow. I know they were already selling Dakota Kai shirts.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
cool.
a guy for the shop thing came up and said Dakota Kai, you could buy her shirt.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tribal Chief.
Yeah, Andrew. How are you? Well, first
Hi.
off, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Question for you. I'm just curious now at this point to see if it was actually worth it. How big of a pop did Jeff Jarrett get?
He got kind of a big pop, and I was gonna say that match got confusing at the end because I don't know what all happened because Jeff Jarrett got out of the ring. I thought he was gonna go over and maybe it screwed something up and go ask, like get a replay or something. That Street Profit Uso finish was the second confusing thing of the night. It was just like, I was like, because Jeff was kind of like had he, because I was trying to figure out like, what did one of the wrong Usos get pinned or was the wrong one in the ring or what was going on? Because it was like a huge, confusion at that. Yeah.
Right. So Andrew, overall, your experience positive? Was this a great birthday gift for you?
Oh yeah, it was positive. I mean, the Nissan Stadium people, I'll give Nissan Stadium the people there that the running it. I don't know. I don't know. Did Triple H just like not tell them how to run stuff?
I don't think they can control everything here. You know,
No,
like,
yeah. I just
part of it is just the staff. But,
yeah.
But I mean, like it played on TV like this was a great show. Like when I was watching, I'm like, I'm witnessing a great show right now. And you felt that watching it live too?
Oh yeah, and it was just like wow, and it was pretty good. I think Glenn Jacobs messed up the attendance thing because he kind of went, oh, he messed up the attendance. There was not that amount of people in the stadium. We probably got 38,000, maybe close to that, maybe lower.
I heard
it was
that the
not
number.
them.
I mean, WWE always inflates the numbers. Usually, as a rule, at arenas they inflate it by 5,000. This one, minimal 10,000. It was inflated, but they always do that. I mean, like
well,
like,
it was
like WrestleMania 3 had 71 or 72,000 people there, but they said it's 93, so they inflated it by 20.
Yeah,
I guess they had to beat the vote.
Yeah, I think he was kind of like, "Oh, I messed up," because it kind of looked at that because that stadium they were utilizing half the stadium, so the other side has at least 20-something thousand on the other side. So there was no way it was that high, even with the skybox, even with the private boxes.
Right. Well, Andrew, happy belated birthday to you, sir. We are so happy to have had you on this show tonight, and thank you for sharing your live experience with us. And
thank you.
We'll be talking to you soon, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye.
Bye, Andrew. Have a good one.
Good night.
All right. That was the Wrestleview fiend, Mr. Andrew Elder, sharing his live experience with us here. Now, Jerome, let's get back to let's talking about this main event here.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the main event, and then I'd like to bring up my, I'll give you about this.
Yes. So one thing on Andrew's numbers about the numbers. So WrestleTix had the capacity at 39 or the numbers at 39,074 for the attendance for tonight. So that 48,000 plus definitely exaggerated. Hopefully that will stop under Triple H, but we'll see. So the main event, I thought was great. I agree with Roy. Paul Heyman taking a bump. I don't remember the last time I saw Paul Heyman take a bump. And then a tractor moving the wrestling ring. Hello, that was great. So I enjoyed the main event. That was my favorite match of the night. I was wondering how the thing was going to end. And I thought Roman Reigns taking the briefcase and just smacking the heck out of Brock Lesnar was great. Oh. And then taking the title belts and smacking him again. And, what more is it going to take to get this guy to go down? It was great. It was believable. I really enjoyed it. I was wondering what kind of finish we were going to get because I didn't expect a title change. I didn't expect Brock to win. So having the Usos and Roman pile everything on Brock, I thought was a great way to end.
They couldn't keep him down in a traditional sense. Yeah, it was really smart. Now, where do we go from here with Roman Reigns? The titles have been on him. I think tomorrow is day number 700. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think so. I can look that up really quick too.
Yeah, because I remember Paul Heyman saying on Raw something like, on Saturday it's going to be $699, and Brock Lesnar would love to play spoiler and not let it get to 700, but it will get to 700 or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, maybe it'll get to 700 if it goes past midnight, and then they beat him. That'd be fun. But no, that's not what happened. Roman Reigns has held the one title for quite some time, and now he also has the WWE Championship. He's holding both the major titles. He is not a full-time member of the roster anymore. He will be fighting Drew McIntyre Clash at the Castle, but my question is, he's run through everybody. At this point, we're on to him beating people for the second or third time now. They're building these people up to beat them again and again and again. This is a Vince McMahon sin that we talked about at WrestleMania. I imagine that the plans are at work to fix this, and don't tell me The Rock, because that's not a solution. It just isn't. You'll be trading one part-time champion for a 50-year-old guy who will never be around full-time. You might get one match out of him, and then he'll drop the title or something like that. It would just be a total waste to have him run through the entire roster 2 to 3 times now, and then just drop it to a guy who's not on the roster at all. It would be a complete and total waste. I'll start with Roy. When do you forecast this ending, and who the hell is going to do it? Is it Cody Rhodes? Don't say The Rock.
No, certainly not The Rock. God, no. Nothing against him. Look, logically speaking, it is Cody Rhodes, and unfortunately he's out probably until the Rumble, which means WrestleMania is probably when we're going to get that title change. Now, I'm hopeful, and I'm trying to be optimistic. I don't know if they pull the trigger on Drew over in the UK in September. I don't think they will. I'm trying to be optimistic and think, well, what if they have Drew defeat Roman, and then the next night or whatever on Monday, Heyman comes out and says, no, well, you pinned Roman or whatever, but that was for 1 belt and not 2. So Roman kind of still has 1 belt and Drew has the other. That's the only person that comes to mind. I don't know if they're going to do it with Seth. I don't know if we get Seth and Roman again. I mean, technically we just kind of got it at the Rumble. Cody's out. If it's not him, it's not Seth. Is it Kevin Owens? We had that back in the Thunderdome in the last man standing match. So there is no one else. Are they going to bring Braun Breaker from NXT? What are they going to do?
Solution? It would be, I guess, have a young guy like that, but Braun Breaker is extremely green, and then they'll be giving a guy who's not ready the title. That's a scary proposition for me.
It is. Does Hunter go with someone that he likes from NXT, like a Tommaso Ciampa?
I something just popped in my mind now, and I think we're gonna be okay with Paul Levesque as the WWE creative guy, but when Cody Rhodes was in AEW, I don't think that he missed an opportunity to take shots at Paul Levesque at any chance that he got.
Oh no!
Now that he's in charge of creative, I think that he's a smart businessman and a really bright guy, that he could probably let this go. Does that hurt? I'll go with Victoria because Paul Levesque is your friend. How do you see that panning out for Cody Rhodes if Cody Rhodes is going to be this guy?
I don't think, honestly, he would do anything to jeopardize what Cody has built up. Yes, there were a lot of shots taken and there was a lot of, but I don't think that I think he is going to look at this as a business perspective and what he can do creatively to make sure that the company is going on the right path. I don't think for a second that he will take anything out on the fact that if Cody is this guy and if that was the plan and if this is what we're going to go towards, this is what we need to do. I really don't. I think probably at this point too, a conversation will need to be had if it hasn't been had already at this point between the two of them. But a conversation will need to take place, and to hash it out. And I think people can be professional and move on, because a lot of things too. Yeah, even though Triple H was the main source of Cody kind of like saying stuff, the main source was Vince. Vince was kind of like that middleman where a lot of stuff you could get mad at certain people in the company with, but Vince was really the guy that, you had to be angry with the most. If things weren't necessarily going your way, Triple H could have been like, hey, I think we should do this. I could do that, whatever, and blah, 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 blah. But then puts the kibosh on it. Same thing with Stephanie. No matter what you do at the end of the day, even if Vince agreed with it, Vince could take it away. So that's the person that you really need to be mad at if you have any kind of like animosity towards the company. I think that they can hash it out and make things amicable to proceed with any type of storyline that they potentially, whether it's involved in this main event setting or not with Roman Reigns or something else.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm
playing devil's advocate here.
But honestly, you never know. They might even, because Cody's got that creative mindset too. He might utilize him creatively too in other things. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, like the reason why, like, I think people are excited about Paul Levesque, and not just, I'm not saying like people like on the internet. I mean, like people within that company feel excited that Paul Levesque is right now handling the booking. Paul Levesque, his creative credentials don't just start at like, oh, he got like really lucky and like booked NXT really well. Paul Levesque has been sitting in creative meetings since 1996 or 1997. He's talked a lot about, you want to get involved, you want to become a star, you got to get involved in the creative process. And like him and Shawn Michaels, yes, I'm sure he was riding Shawn Michaels' coattails all the way into that room, but he was in that room during and at least listening to some of the ideas come together for one of the hottest periods in the history of professional wrestling, with lots and lots of creative, stories. Some of them weren't that great and some of them were really great. So his credentials, of just sitting under the learning tree and absorbing all that stuff is pretty formidable. And I think, I'd like to see, I think, Cody probably could be the guy, but it's like after, blowing through the entire roster, it's like, oh, Cody's going to be the guy. Okay. Like, Brock Lesnar can do it, but Cody can. All right.
I think this needs to happen though. I think that this truly needs to be the closure that everybody needed. They cannot have a better match than they did tonight. There's no possible way. So I truly hope, and I think we will, with Triple H now being in charge, I think we will see. I think this was the end of this chapter. If this was still under Vince, oh yeah, I quote unquote, this would be the end. We would still see them fighting again and continuing on with this song and dance of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Right.
But now at Triple H, but they have to do this they have to do this smart though. They really have to figure this out and plan strategically, because it does kind of seem weird that Brock Lesnar was not able to defeat Roman Reigns. And now Cody coming in, Cody's great, love him, but now Cody's going to be the one to do it.
I mean, like a million F5s couldn't put Brock Lesnar down, but a Crossroads or like, I don't know. Roy, my tribal chief, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with Victoria, and this was in terms of the match, this was the greatest thing we could have done tonight. Now it's funny because if we go back about 3 weeks ago, last month, Money in the Bank, we were all talking about Theory. Yet here we are, fast forward 4 weeks later, we haven't mentioned Theory about possibly taking the title away from Roman Reigns, and I don't think he's going to take it. I see some people in the chat saying Bobby Lashley. Now my question is, do we get someone that returns like Bray Wyatt or a Braun Strowman or something like that? Granted, been there, done that. Don't get me wrong. Been there, done that. Now, the one thing about Hunter, and he mentioned this a couple of days ago, he said this is going to be a sort of a team effort. He said this is going to be a team effort. The talent, everyone in creative, give me ideas, what you guys have, and we're going to run with it, right? Maybe someone has an idea, they take it, they run with it. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if it's maybe someone that comes back, maybe a Strowman or a Bray Wyatt repackaged, because I'm hard pressed. I can't think of anybody else. It's not going to be Theory. I don't think it's going to be Lashley.
Right. Especially after that Braun Strowman. Although we did see Braun Strowman as champion, it really wasn't that great. Although they did a lot of cinematic matches that were really bad, and he was only teamed with Bray Wyatt, it seems like. Yeah. And it was just getting weird after a while. But Jerome, that what was it called? Like the Choose Your Narrative or something like that. Some narrative kind of him and EC3 started a company.
Oh yeah. I think it's that create your narrative or something like that.
Control your narrative.
Control your narrative. It's control your narrative. Yeah, I don't know where that company's.
But that folded, go. Right? I think it folded.
No, right. the wrestling entertainment series folded before it even started. That was the one with the former Authors of Pain.
Akeem and Razor.
Yeah.
Okay. And your thoughts on the Roman Reigns situation, I mean, because I think if we're gonna start fresh, like I was saying on Post Raw this past week that I don't think we're going to see like any humongous storyline shifts probably until they do the season premieres of both shows like in October, like, you know, and then we'll start to see like a discernible shift in creative. You know, I think if you're going to start fresh, you need to have a show where you can book the titles and the champion to be on the show every single week. Like, you know, a regular wrestling show has always been booked. You have the champion on the show, you build stories around that. It's been so hard to build characters that you can get invested in and excited about. If the one prize that, you know, that should be the goal of everybody is not on the show weekly or taken away. Do you think Roman Reigns gets by Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle?
Yes, I do. I don't think they're going to put the title on Drew at Clash at the Castle. I'm thinking that they're going to hold off and take the title off Reigns at WrestleMania. Cody's going to come back, be a surprise entrant at the Royal Rumble, and then he goes on to WrestleMania, whether it's the night 1 or night 2, whichever how they book it. And I think Cody's going to be the one to take that title off of Reigns. In between with Survivor Series coming up, and then whatever they do in October and in December, I don't know what opponents they're going to have for Reigns, but I think Reigns is going to continue to hold that title. And the Usos, I mean, who's going to take those titles off the Usos? I think the Street Profits are done. And I was thinking after that match was over, what tag teams are left? Viking Raiders? No, they're not going to put the titles on Viking Raiders. I just don't know what other tag team they can pull together. AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler, maybe, but I don't see that happening.
Fun tag team for the fall, but I don't see them dethroning the Usos.
Yeah, I don't know who's there to dethrone the Usos. Unless they bring up someone from NXT, but I can't. There's no tag team in NXT that would dethrone the Usos. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Right.
At this point, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I can't think of anybody.
Roy, your thoughts?
Yeah, to just kind of add to what you were saying, Mike, in terms of I don't think we're going to get something new or fresh probably until the fall. What if they do something with Montez Ford? They've been hinting about it, talking about, change of physique, but he hasn't lost a beat, he hasn't lost a step, and this and that. And then tonight, after they lost the match, the camera just kind of zoomed in on Montez, and he had that look of like, okay, this is not happening. Like, forget about it. I'm done with this. Do we get some sort of heel turn or some sort of something where he goes on a singles run? Do you give him a title? Do you build him up? Again, this might be for the fall. It might even be for the winter. Who knows? Is he ready? Because there's no one else.
I know. I know. There's no other tag teams. There's no other.
No.
I mean, maybe like when Big E, comes back, and thank God that his neck injury wasn't worse than it could have been.
Is he coming back?
Not anytime soon. I still don't think. But I mean, I think Jerome has a point there that there probably won't be a discernible change in anything like regarding these titles until WrestleMania. Because it's almost like they're so big and they've gone on for so long that, I guess if it were to end at Clash at the Castle on a pay-per-view, that'll probably be at like 10 in the morning here or something like that. I don't know the time differences or whatever, but it's 5 hours. Okay. So, all right. So
5 hours off the East Coast.
So 5 hours
ahead.
Behind.
So no. So if it's 1 a.m. right here, if it's 1 a.m. right here in on the East Coast in North America, it's 6 a.m. in the UK. They're 5 hours ahead.
Okay, so they're 5 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So
8 p.m. there is 3 p.m. here.
3 p.m. here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna miss a lot of how many people will be able to catch a pay-per-view in the middle of the day on a Sunday or Saturday whenever it's taking place.
Saturday.
And you're gonna miss like this giant 700-day title reign end like that. So yeah, I think it probably, I mean, if they were smart and wanted to build some Survivor Series up into a big four again and stop with this ridiculous Raw versus SmackDown that means nothing. It's almost like a phone in every year. It's like, okay, well, creative is going to take a month off and we're just going to do these ridiculous feuds that mean nothing. And then we just forget like it ever happened. Maybe they build it up in a big title match or title change there or what have you for at least one of them, like the tag team titles need to be split again. Both shows or maybe not split, maybe they stay unified, but a new team needs to there just needs to be a fresh perspective, I think, at the top of the card.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because there's so much that has to be done, and everything's not going to get fixed within a short amount of time. It's going to take a while before we see some significant changes where things become a little bit more, stable, and where our storylines can continue. But I feel like at this point, they're not going to make any change, like major changes with those titles for a while until they really can sit and settle with this. Because this all happened fairly quickly, this wasn't like a year-long like investigation and allegation and whatever. Everything happened with Vince. Like, yeah, it's been going on a while, but it was kind of like, okay, here are these allegations. Here's an investigation. Boom, he's retired from the company. And now you have to sit and make all these staff changes and all this other stuff. So for them to make any other big changes like that and looking at their titles, they're going to have to really sit and think about what they need to do. Because like you said before, Mike, they still have to finish out storylines that Vince, had a hand in beforehand. You can't
it's
just
not going to be like WCW
okay.
in 2000 where Eric Bischoff walks out and goes, okay, all the titles are vacated and all the storylines are shot.
No, you can't do
and
that.
We're just going to restart. They're not going to do that. But I think it's coming up soon that they really do, because since WrestleMania, it's like Raw and SmackDown have been booked as the series finale, and it's just like the finale has not ended, because who else can you possibly do? So it's like, where do you go creatively? It's like Paul Levesque is going to be in handcuffs until they can figure out something. And
he truly is in handcuffs, because he was put into a situation, especially with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. They did this. I mean, they did this to themselves, where it's like this man's unbeatable, and now you have somebody like Brock Lesnar who, is his beast, and then he can't even beat him, And again, they did it very well tonight where it worked. He still looked, crazy strong. But where do you go from here?
Well, the one thing that Triple H can do is work on the undercard and start building those people up to like reinvigorate them, get their character. I mean, like, we talked about like Bianca Belair, but like, even like a guy like, Damian Priest, who I think is in a horrible situation with this Judgment Day, but he was okay in NXT, I thought. And, a guy that finally understands his character and who this guy is can probably do better with him than Vince, who was like, oh, let's just make him be a shill for some zombie movie. It's like, I think there's going to be a lot of guys like AJ Styles could definitely go through a refresh as well. Vince's ideal of like, oh, once you reach this age, you are no longer a viable superstar. That's it. You cannot. It's like, okay, well then you stop coming out on TV every week. Like you start with you, Vince. But like AJ Styles still has a lot to give. Maybe Triple H can build that up and start something with him.
I would almost, though, how you said before about Eric Bischoff, and he did like the whole vacant titles, and like when it was kind of not random, but it was just like, okay, we're doing this. I would forgive Triple H, honestly, if something happened and it was just like so random. Like I wouldn't even care at this point. Because if that's what's going to take to just get this moving along and like to be able to really get things going, especially for the fall, because the fall gets a bad rap, with the sports coming back and football and everything, they do kind of settle down in their stories a little bit, and they don't really particularly put like a whole lot of like extreme effort as you would into your major shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if Paul were just like, what, let's just do this and make it so random, and it's kind of like, here, we're just going to start something totally different, I could forgive that in this situation, because it's really, really hard to just be like, okay, let me tie this all together where it makes sense and where everything can just like move in a different direction.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too negative about, about some of the things, because I want to give them a chance to, kind of figure it out. I think under a new regime, I think it's possible there will be a solution. There obviously will be a day where Roman Reigns is not the champion. I wish that day was today. I'd rather even have Brock Lesnar back and then just have somebody come out and beat him, because he's been so beatable lately. I don't think, but let's get back to talking about this dang show. And I'm going to now move to Jerome, who now has no more main event to talk about to say that's his favorite. So what's your other favorite thing on this show, Jerome? What struck you as something
You're
that
a fan,
you really
Jerome.
enjoyed on the show?
Ronda Rousey turning heel. It's about time they did that. I was waiting for that day to come. I was waiting for that day to come, and I'm glad that they pulled the trigger with her, because she needs to turn heel. She needs to have a mouthpiece like Paul Heyman, because she can't talk on the mic to save her life. And so I really hope that they continue her with this heel turn and maybe gets a mouthpiece to talk for her. So yeah, I was excited they did that.
Yeah, so some of the things that they scripted for her, we talked about this, I think, on the very first episode of Pros Raw ever, that like they just book her to say like or script her to say like the most ridiculous words and try to sound tough, saying it's like I am gonna give you a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious beatdown.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I like was I'm not a fan of Logan Paul, but that frog splash he did on the table on the Miz. That was great. I actually enjoyed that. I thought that was great. And I know I probably made Victoria pass out and like, but I thought it was great.
Listen, I'm just gonna say something, okay?
I'm on the naughty list.
And it pains me.
Jerome's gonna be on the couch, and he doesn't live with us.
Jerome, you're banned. You are banned. You're on the couch. All of you are on the couch.
Why did he do anything?
No,
Roy's unencumbered.
Roy's not on the couch. I'm saying anybody in the chat who
Right.
is like whatever. No, I'm just kidding. I will say this: I hate Logan Paul. I hate him with a fiery passion. He's a horrible human being. So is his brother. They're just not good people. However, he did have a good showing in this match tonight. He did. Yes. And it was, if I physically could separate the actual person from like the wrestler, I would have been actually very happy with this. And Miz losing, whatever. But Miz is just the stature now. He's well established in the company. This is kind of like what he does now. Like he's at celebrity status, and he gets these guys coming in who like Bad Bunny and whatever. That's what he does.
Because Miz has no ego. I think deep down, like Miz just realizes how extraordinarily lucky he is to be WWE.
He just
superstar.
appreciates being where he's at.
Yeah, and he has no ego. I mean, this is a guy who was kicked out of the locker room. So, he came up in like the school of hard knocks. He has no ego whatsoever. He understands that like, well, I could either be really shitty to this guy and like all these people coming in, or I can, get my spot on the card by playing this role. And it's a great role.
And it's got a lot of attention,
to be the guy that loses to all the celebrities. Like,
yeah.
Like last year when the Bad Bunny thing happened, like Miz was featured on like ESPN with like this, like that was on TMZ.
Daniel,
was like people were crazy about
Daniel, is that a
stuff.
serious question? He goes, does anyone watch Miz and Mrs.? Yes. Okay. They do when I watch it. So there you go. But yeah, no, if I could physically separate, like if Logan Paul was a good guy, I would be like, hey, this is awesome. Like, come right in. I'll welcome you with open arms. Like, welcome to WWE. I just hate him as an individual, but I cannot take away what he did tonight. He really had a good showing. He did.
Roy, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, no. Well, to kind of add to the whole Miz talk, he guided him throughout this entire match, and Miz looked like a pro. At one point, I specifically remember when Logan Paul did the crossbody off the top rope, and he stayed on Miz, and the camera was on the Miz, and he told him up, and Miz just pushed him up, and then Logan Paul did the standing moonsault, and you could tell he was holding his hand throughout the entire match. And I'm not a fan of Logan Paul. I know we discussed this. Was it at WrestleMania or when it was announced that he was going to wrestle at WrestleMania? None of us liked him. Credit to him. He's taking this. He's respecting the business, or appears to be respecting the business. He took this very seriously. That frog splash off the top rope, holy shit. I mean, we talk about Montez Ford, and rightfully so, but he put in the effort tonight, and my hat's off.
Yeah,
I don't like him as a person, but You gotta
Yeah,
respect
that's the thing. Like you can really see that he's working hard to
Yeah.
be good at this.
Yeah.
The mistake is booking him as a face. He just is not a face.
No,
He
he's
doesn't
not a
look like a
face.
face. He doesn't look like anybody that I would like
Cheer for
in
it.
my regular life. If I met a guy that like Logan Paul, I'd if he was walking toward me coming down the street, I'd just walk on the other side of the street. I wouldn't even want to walk by the guy.
His fans and like his whole like shtick and his vines that he used to do and whatever, like people never liked him really. Like it was like the Paul brothers was like, oh, these goofy guys or whatever, and he was viners and whatnot. And
it's
then
like they're the guys that you love to hate. It seems like
yeah, exactly.
But here he is, like not phoning it in, not just like collecting a
No.
paycheck. He's actually working hard, taking big bumps. Like I thought of, I guess you could quote unquote celebrity matches tonight, because I guess Pat McAfee, it's like he wrestles 2-3 times a year or whatever it is, so. And outside of wrestling, he'd be enormous with or without wrestling. It doesn't matter. So to me, it's like, if we're gonna grade the two celebrity matches, I thought Logan Paul's match against The Miz was cleaner and more technically sound than the Pat McAfee Happy Corbin match. I thought the McAfee Corbin match, while a lot of fun to watch, got sloppy at times. Got really like I saw Pat McAfee almost spike himself on his head twice in that match. And I was
Very
like,
dangerous.
whoa, bro, slow down. Like, like you need a guy in there who can kind of, I remember like watching this clip from Chris Jericho, talking a couple years ago about being in the ring with Shane McMahon at a Survivor Series. And Shane just came out, he got tagged in the match, doing his, house on fire, the big hot tag. And he was really, really pumping. And he legitimately clocked Jericho in the face, and Jericho was like, bro, slow down. And he's like just rocking him in the ribs with kicks. And finally Jericho gets up and you can see the slow motion, crushed him with a drop kick. It was like, slow down. Like Miz was able to get Logan Paul, while Logan Paul was rocking the Miz with his shots. I don't think he's learned how to truly pull a punch yet, or work a punch, or work a kick. He was crushing the Miz with his kicks. Either that, or he's just an excellent pro wrestler already, and his worked punches look devastating. But I think Miz was taking some pretty nasty shots there tonight. But Miz was there to like say like, like to slow him down, get that pacing down. Whereas like Happy Corbin, I think, was just as excited to be in that match with Pat McAfee, because they used to be roommates, as Pat McAfee was. So he wasn't the guy to like tell McAfee like, we got to slow down the pacing here. I think they were just, I think they
there was nobody to.
They started getting panicky a little bit and rushing, and it got scary. At times.
Well, I think Miz became like, the roles reversed, where it's like Miz is now this mentor, so to speak, for Logan Paul, where I'm not going to say totally similar lifestyles, but Logan Paul was this viner, social media star.
But he's an athlete. I can't say Logan Paul's
right,
an athlete.
right. What I'm saying is Miz was this reality star, real world, but was an athlete, played baseball, played football in high school, like, whatever.
But not an athlete like a Logan
No,
Paul.
definitely not.
No.
But
not an athlete like the typical run of the mill WWE.
No, but
either. It's like,
but he still has this
very low on the totem.
But he has but he's a veteran in the company, and he has to.
Whoa, I got away with that one. I did.
Shut up. You're still on the couch no matter what. But but he was able to guide the match the way it needed to. I think they worked to each other's benefit really well. It was they had very good chemistry together, because Logan Paul had the intensity and that athleticism, and Miz has that seasoned veteran WWE star and knows how to work a match. So I think they were a good pairing for each other. I don't necessarily know how Logan Paul would have done with anybody else. I think Miz was actually a good fit for him to be involved in that match.
There you go. Yeah, I can agree with that. Let's get back to what Jerome said before as well. He made a really good point about Ronda Rousey. I thought, I can't lie and say that I've caught SmackDown every single week, but almost every single time I see SmackDown and Ronda Rousey's on, or I recap a match, or even when we went to Madison Square Garden in March and saw Ronda Rousey there, I thought that she's looked just a step above pitiful. I think that she's been this second run with the company has been a disaster so far. She has not recaptured the excitement that she had in the first run, and that's probably because she's almost 10 years removed from the UFC spotlight. So I think the amount of people who probably care are significantly less. The movie and TV deals have dried up for her, and she just had that kid, and essentially she was 4 months
up.
She's 4 months out from giving birth, and then she's back in the Rumble. I don't think her heart's in it. I think her heart is at home still, and wanting to be mom. And I just don't think she's been that good so far. But does tonight turn that around? I'll start with Roy, who recaps her frequently.
Hopefully. It looked like it.
And am I off in anything that I said, by the way?
No, by any means, by any stretch of the imagination at all. You're absolutely spot on. And I think we started to see a little bit of that, or at least a small glimpse on SmackDown. When she cut that promo, which is like a 10-second promo, she was cutting it, she's talking, and a fan tells her, "Shut up, no one wants to hear you talk." And she tells him, "You suck, your mother failed in raising you."
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like on the spot. So I don't know if that kind of got to her. I'm guessing it did.
Well, if you remember her first night on Raw, after the Royal Rumble, she came out and she was acting like a heel. And then that report came out that Vince was like, you got to smile. You're a face now. I don't care how you left the company. And she's like, well, they hated me when I left the company. He goes, yeah, but now they're excited to see you and they love you. And then she came out on SmackDown and was like smiling and totally different person. It was like, that was so strange. Deep down, I think she probably wants to be heel. She has, she's good when she's emoting, something that she's feeling. I think that she's still bitter about her first run too. Sorry to cut you off, Ryan.
No. It's fine. And well, I think you're right. I think I think she wants to be a heel. I think it's naturally easier to be a heel, period. It's easier to hate on things and just to be a heel, period. And especially her MMA background. I'm gonna beat you up, and she's not the best on the mic. She can't really cut a promo. So for her to be a babyface and talk about how she's gonna beat people up, I don't know if she's able to transmit that just yet. So I think that's why she's better off being a heel. We clearly got that turn tonight. Like, absolutely, we got that switch of, hey, I don't like you. I attacked you after I lost, even though I was supposed to win. I got screwed. And I think now we might get her just constantly beating people up until she gets the title, until she gets that title belt.
See, I was a little worried about the finish tonight, because when she attacked that official, I was like, oh my God, are they going to go on SmackDown this Friday and say, you attacked a WWE official and you are suspended? And then we don't see her until Survivor Series, or at least. And then we're left with Liv Morgan, who got absolutely decimated by Ronda Rousey tonight. Does not look like a champion, doesn't feel like a champion. The problem with a lot of these Money in the Bank cash-ins, sometimes, especially if it's given to a person that, they've been wishy-washy on to begin with, when they get the title, it's like when Rey Mysterio won the title in 2006. It's like, okay, you won the title, and now we're going to kill you for your entire run until you lose. And we're going to prove that you were a loser by booking you like a loser. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy here.
I just think that, it's interesting because
it's like, are we going to be left with Liv Morgan for the next 3 months, who is a horribly weak champion now?
Hopefully with Triple H's, now everything. I think that
but it depends on her contract though, like what she's
out. I just think in general, I think it was always thought of like, if you were a celebrity or if you were somebody who was mainstream, like you have to come in and you're a face. I think we have to get rid of that. Like again, Logan Paul, like he would have been Meta Trader coming in as a heel initially. Ronda Rousey, even though people were really excited to see her and everything, she's still a heel at heart. Like you her whole demeanor, everything else.
Right.
So you can't just assume like, oh, they have celebrity status, like they're a heel. Bad Bunny was a different case, totally like lovable, whatever. But somebody like her who has that MMA background and is an actual fighter, Like, heel, why not? Like, you can love a heel. You could still get that energy and the crowd reaction, and it's better, like Roy said. It's just much better being heel.
Well,
It's better just in general to get yourself into a company when you're new to this. Like, yes, she's a fighter. That's fine. We knew that she'd be a good wrestler.
Mhm.
That was given. But in terms of like a character and that development, she needed to be a heel. It's just easier. It takes time to be a face.
Especially like, when you're dealing with people that, maybe she liked wrestling when she was a kid, but like she didn't train in wrestling.
No.
She kind of learned on the fly. So there's a lot of nuances to like, it's one thing to learn the moves, but it's another thing to like learn character work and stuff like that. So if you're going to have these people signing people like, a Rousey or a Logan Paul, or even a Pat McAfee, you could say, that don't get fully character work, but they, it's just like on how they feel, then you have to book them to where they're at.
Right.
It's like, I think Ronda Rousey has been in heel mode since January and has wanted to be there and hasn't felt it. And I think that's bled into the perception of her and how she's been in the ring. I'd like to see if, turning heel makes her do a 180. They're not like regular professional wrestlers where it's like, this is your character now. You're the professional wrestler. You're the face now. I don't care that you want to be a heel. You could do this. I pay you to do both. In this case, she can't.
No. And I don't think she should. And it works better to her advantage too when she can't speak on the mic.
Roy, what was your favorite part of SummerSlam? We've blown through a lot so far. So just one thing that stands out to you big. Let's talk about it.
I like that Michael Cole is allowed to have an opinion again.
Oh, isn't that great?
I like that. That was good.
Been rocking on commentary. I love it.
I like that. Oh, Big Boss Man did the same thing at SummerSlam 91.
Yes. I like that he mentioned the Lion's Den match at SummerSlam and, like all the first and Jesse the Body Ventura being a special guest referee.
The TLC match, I think, and he mentioned Edge and Christian and the Hardys, and that was cool. I love the commentary. I absolutely love the commentary tonight. Something I very interesting, completely kind of off guard. The first 4 matches on the show were all Raw matches.
Yes.
Which I don't know why I was planning that. Anyways, that's something I really.
I think so. They wanted to have
probably
a split for the teams because once those matches are up, then Michael Cole took over with Corey Graves, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was probably why. But something I really enjoyed. I did not expect to enjoy the women's match, the opening match, as much as I did. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I knew I was going to like it. I wasn't sure what to expect. And to be honest, the first 2 minutes, I actually thought were a little bit kind of choppy, a little bit sloppy at times. But when it got going and with the crowd, and you could tell Bianca was in her zone. She was fully focused, and Becky's grown leaps and bounds. I know, we don't really talk about her much, but
she's a pro wrestler.
She's a pro. She's a pro. She gets it. And then the aftermath of it with the 3 coming back and the crowd, it was such a great way to start the match. When the pay-per-view started and they said, "Hey, we're gonna kick things off with the Raw Women's title," I thought, okay, are we really gonna get a new champ right now? Like, chances are, if you're starting a pay-per-view with a title match, we're probably gonna get a new champ. Wasn't the case. I fully enjoyed it. Some creative stuff in there, and that's what I love the most. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with Bianca. This women's division, not only the addition of the 3 that they brought in, but someone like Asuka. What are they going to do with her? Someone like Charlotte Flair. Where does Charlotte fit in all of this when she comes back? So very much looking forward for the first time and probably ever to see what they do with the women's title.
Yeah. I really, really like that opening match. I really, really did. I was not high on that match at all, covering it, up until this past Monday's Raw, where Bianca Belair came out and all of a sudden wasn't like this watered down, diminished version of whatever Vince McMahon imagined the Bianca Belair character was, but like the person who had a hand in booking and creating that Bianca Belair character to begin with. It's like she came out and was excited and and was like, finally somebody gets me again, and I'm being booked like how I should be booked. And a simple little brawl got me so excited for this match. And like they had a killer match. I thought at WrestleMania Night 1, the thing that will always stand out to me are two things on that show. You know, that'll just be blow away. Like, you know, I'll remember it forever. Like, you know, Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens, the Cody Rhodes return. Those were great moments. But I thought the match that was the best match on that show was Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. I thought that by all rights, if they were going to, you know, like if they were going to go through a trend where it's like every year, one night of the WrestleManias will be main evented by women, I was like, well, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch absolutely should have been. I thought that they were on too early. I thought that Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey was not a good match, and that they had essentially, in terms of wrestling, stolen the show in that sense. So I was like, how are they going to top that? And they did. I actually thought tonight's match, when it's all said and done, was probably better than the WrestleMania match.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know if I'm crazy in saying
You're not crazy. I really, honestly, it was so enjoyable, and it was just so refreshing to see just a women's match that was really good and just really entertaining. You know, I think we're finally going to get now a real chance at this division being successful.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And obviously the post match is the real big news story here, with the return of Bayley, the comeback of Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
And now Io Sky, the former Io Shirai, all being infused into the Raw women's division.
Yep.
Finally.
Yep.
You know, it's a 3-hour show, and there was like no women on it. And it was like, you know, it's like, you know, Asuka, who they don't seem to care about anymore. Well, I think Asuka's going to go through a career resurgence very soon with Triple H at the helm. You know, I think by Royal Rumble, the Raw women's division is going to be one of the highlights of the show. Mark my words.
Yeah.
I said it right here.
It will, because we're finally getting, like I said, we're getting that chance now. We're taking time and really
talked ad nauseum about how embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It really is. And it's actually, like I said, I'm not trying to be like, woe is me because I'm a girl and, you know, whatever, but it's really frustrating when you're seeing and you're looking at these talented individuals and you're not doing anything with them. You're not giving them the time of day, and you're not giving them the potential that they need and they have, and they've earned, they had that right. And it's time. It's just time that they're a consistent focus on building this up, because people do care.
This is the guy that booked Evolution.
Right.
One of the great pay-per-views I've seen that I've ever attended live.
I loved that show. It was so good. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get something like that again in the future. Who knows? And it's a strong possibility if you really take the time to look at it, because whether, you know, past people have thought that people don't care about the women, they do.
Yeah,
they do very much care.
Absolutely.
You know, and
look, it was successful a couple of years ago, and then it's like, okay, well, you know, we did it now. You know, we proved that we can.
Yeah.
And now we're just going to put them right back where they were.
They phoned it in. And I don't think it was any fault of like Stephanie or Triple H.
Well, I mean, what can they really do? The main roster has been dominated.
They can't. No.
By Crazy Man.
No. And you know what too? And I said the same thing. You know, if you're going to put, and I'm also the type as well, like as much as I'm like rooting for them, obviously, but I want something worthwhile for them too. I don't want like stupid things and throwaway stuff that doesn't mean anything. Like if you're going to have them in a main event, like make it something purposeful and meaningful to them, where it's productive and it's not going to, it's like, oh, it's just silly. And like, oh, we have to fill our quota of having a women's main event. Like, no, make it something worthwhile and do something with it.
And this could be the comeback of, it's like they've been trying to go back, like Nick Khan has been trying to go back to that era of, Johnny Ace, again, Mr. NDA over there too, opening up a magazine and looking at lingerie models and going, I like this one will be a WWE diva now. It's like they were trying to go back to that again by signing all these, young and hot, not professional wrestlers, but just young and hot women that will probably, I'm sure some will try and some will just be there to get the check and never be seen again. We're gonna get back to like, people that actually know what the hell they're doing. It's one thing, oh, we got eye candy, oh, we got Maxine Dupree here, but we still need people that can actually work in the ring, because that's what we expect now. The product has changed where it's like, if Kelly was so friggin' great, we'd have a million Kelly still, but people expect more from the women because they've actually given it to us. You can't give it and then just take it away. The toothpaste is out of the tube. We want to, like,
they're more than
I'm sure there's some person that wants the bra and panty matches to come back.
No doubt.
Somewhere.
Of course there is.
But the majority want to see, it's not just men that watch this show. Women want to see themselves represented on screen.
Hello.
Of course.
In a positive way. And, having some, cheerleader come out, who, tore her ACL and can't be on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading team anymore. So I'll just try it on wrestling because I'm hot. That's not enough anymore. That's not what you're looking for.
No, it's not enough.
It's beneath.
Anymore.
It's 2022. Get with it here. Get with it. Women.
I like having someone like Doudrop on the roster. She has a different figure than most of the women do in the do. And that's cool. That's good representation, because not everybody is a stick figure. So you know what? Like, it's good to have multiple people, and for even these little girls growing up, like, wow, that's awesome. Like, these women are doing this. Mm-hmm. I can do that too. Yeah.
And they have the talent for it. You have someone like Shayna Baszler. You have someone like even Nikki Ash or Nikki ASH, whatever you want to call her. Asuka, right? Charlotte Flair, we could throw in there. Bayley. So they have the talent. They just don't know what to do with them, or they haven't known what to do with them for 3-4 years now, probably since 2019, the very, very least. And now, hopefully, with new creative, it works. And not everyone has to be skin and bones, so to speak, when it comes to the women. Right. Hey, you could, if you're talented and you're skin and bones, by all means.
Not everybody has to be a future recipient of an NDA here. It's like we can start to it's not the crazy old man running it now. We can get some people here that will be respected.
And listen, it worked out for some people, like Trish Stratus. She was a model. Obviously, she's super successful, and she was phenomenal. It worked out for her,
but
she can't strike.
Worked.
She worked.
Yeah.
She worked. She worked.
She worked at it.
But you're not going to always get that, though.
It took Lita more time.
Yes. Goosey, I've heard zero reports that Doudrop has hurt anybody. She's not Nia Jax. I don't see that at all. Jerome, have you heard anything like that? I haven't heard that.
I have not heard anything like that. No, I have not.
No, I don't know about that, but yeah, I think Doudrop is really actually a great performer, very safe, and I thought that she got like a bum rap on that Sasha Banks and Naomi thing, where the insinuation was that either Doudrop or Nikki Ash were unsafe to work with. I thought that was unfair, and I think that might be where some of that commenting is coming from right there. But
I hope Naomi comes back.
Well, I was gonna mention about Naomi as well. If she comes back, and someone who's back doesn't look like she's back, Alexa Bliss. So who knows what they end up doing with her, because she absolutely needs a big change.
Well, actually, I thought on Monday she had a very positive promo and a much better match than she's had before. Like they made her a little more serious and less with that stupid, Lily doll that, has been the bane of her existence. It's like, I've been just so tired of everything Bray Wyatt. They're never going to get rid of the Lily doll because that's such a big seller, and it's all about the money still. But you don't have to be so stupid about it. Like you don't have to do commercials with it that get booed by the crowd and kill her before she even gets out in front of them. So I if you have a chance to catch that promo that she did on Monday, I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good. All right. Women's division's looking good. Commentary, I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to say that was probably, if I had to choose something after all of these great things that we've chosen so far, the commentary was just so great. Even like Michael Cole, it's like he's been dying to do this for quite some time. It felt like he was prepared. Like he wasn't waiting for some crazy man to feed him some line that he has to say. It was like he went and did prep work and was like, oh yeah, at SummerSlam this happened. Like write it down in his notebook. Like he's a journalist, like he actually is doing the work that he's been trained to do. Because he was like, I wonder if Jeff Jarrett's still bitter about that hair versus hair match from 1998. And I'm like, I don't even remember that. Wow. And how about this? Oh, referee Chad Patton checking on him. Oh, referee Charles saying the referees' names again. Like these people aren't just some specter in the ring, but actual, human beings, like giving them a name so that I always kind of liked the days of like Nick Patrick and, Danny Davis and Earl Hebner. And it's like, or even like a Mike Chioda of recent vintage, or Charles Robinson, where it's like, it's a Ric Flair match. Charles Robinson's the referee, right? Except for tomorrow. Mike Chioda is.
Little late.
Yeah, or like Earl Hebner's out there. Oh, this is going to be a big match because Earl's refereeing this match. Oh, Nick Patrick's there. Oh, there could be like some kind of screwy finish. It's like when you watch baseball and you see like the umpiring crew, you're like, oh, Angel Hernandez is on. Something terrible is going to happen tonight. So there's just going to be some catastrophic, horrible ball called here. It's going to be very bad. I miss those days of like, oh, Danny Davis is in the ring. Oh, what's going to happen? And giving these guys like, some personality and they're not just like faceless people without names. It's like, that adds to like at a boxing show, event, they're like, oh, the referee for the main event is blah blah blah. It's like, because you should know who the official is, and then damn it, Mike, count faster, or whatever it is. Tim White, rest in peace to the great Timmy White, or Dave Hebner, like those great referees. Like why, like that was a great addition tonight to kind of just like draw it in a little bit. Like this person care, like I don't know. And also, how about the use of the word fans again?
Yeah. And in terms of the word fans, we're not allowed. For a couple of years, they were not allowed.
Somebody said belt about or strap about the championship. It's I mean, it's a belt. You wear it around your waist. What the hell else do you call it? Like it was just nice, like to say, like, oh, these fans are going crazy, and that, like, oh, the WWE universe is coming out of orbit. Like, what is that? Yeah.
I bet it's so nice.
The buzzwords were gone. It felt so organic, and it felt like I'm watching, an organic happening in the moment event, rather than like this sterile, carefully prepared, bizarre buzzword business.
I bet they're so happy
a show
backstage
that you're watching and it's not real, and you can never get into it because it doesn't even sound like they're talking about the stuff that you're looking at on the screen.
You know what I bet they're really happy about backstage? Having been able to sneeze again in peace.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god. Anybody know that story? So we've heard a bunch of stories in the past about how Vince McMahon, if you sneeze around him, like he truly insults him. Like he Paul Heyman was talking to Steve Austin about this. He was like, I when I was booking, for SmackDown, in like 2003 or whatever it was, I was sitting in his office and we booked from Survivor Series all the way up to WrestleMania. And all of a sudden, achoo, Vince sneezed and was just disgusted with it. He could not go on with the meeting. Because Vince truly felt like he should be able to control everything about his body, that he should not sneeze. Sneezing is a sign of weakness. So some people have sneezed at creative meetings and disappeared, been released because Vince thought that they were weak people. So if you have allergies in WWE,
bye.
Welcome back to the real world. You can sneeze in peace again backstage. Imagine getting COVID and sneezing and Vince is like, you're fired.
Okay. Oh, he would have fired us immediately. We sneezed quite a bit.
Strange.
No, it was very nice just to see tonight how much fun that they were having and the back and forth interactions. You could tell, because I have to say, I give them a lot of credit just even prior to all this, because to have somebody, we're talking right now, the four of us, right? If somebody was just incessantly in your ear telling you what to say or just like insulting you or saying random stuff, like, I don't think I could do that. I really don't physically think I would be able to handle somebody in my ear and still say what I have to say. So
I can't even keep my train of thought when
no, even if something was
halfway
like
through myself talking.
Yeah. So it's, you have to really give them a lot of respect for dealing with that for so long. Just the quiet probably was just like, oh my God, I can hear myself think. I can look at my notes. I can watch the match. I can whatever. Like they definitely were feeling really good about themselves going into this tonight because they were able just to be free. Like, I'm free. I can say what I please.
It was the best commentary I've heard. I think since Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, like at the height of like their power,
easily since the Attitude Era,
and even like Corey Graves and Byron Saxton weren't awful. I mean, Byron's never gonna be great, but it wasn't a train wreck to like listen to.
No,
it wasn't. But the problem with Graves is I think he's been so groomed to be the announcer that he is that I don't know what kind of Corey Graves we're going to get right now.
Right.
Because he never did not have Vince in his ear.
Right. And that's why Michael Cole works so well. Number one, he's been doing it for a million years. But number two, he actually, he had a life before this company where he was, a journalist and was calling things as they happened live, so he's, like I always fall back to that terrible night when Jerry Lawler had the heart attack.
Oof.
And Michael Cole was sitting there and having to give the updates. And it wasn't like, it was done in such a professional way. He felt like a newsman, like somebody that had done this before. He reported it, I think, in Iraq at one point. He's been some pretty interesting places in his career. And when he was, giving those updates on Jerry Lawler, it was like he was the steady hand, and that night forever changed the way I viewed Michael Cole on commentary. And I thought that was such a huge, thank God that he was there, because I don't think that, if it was left to like a Byron Saxton or Corey Graves or, insert your other duddy commentator there, like it would have been so calming and reassuring, like at the end of the show, and he's like, we're praying for Jerry, but he's woke up, he's up and like things are looking okay right now. That was like huge, and that's why he is in the position he's at. That's why he's done as well as he has. And now that finally the handcuffs are off, I think the feel of these shows, just in terms of like, what my eyes are seeing and what my ears are hearing are going to be synced up finally. That's a beautiful thing. That's not a bad thing. It's not.
Yeah, it adds so much to the show. It really does. I know it's stupid to say, but having a good announce team adds so much to the presentation. If I'm a casual wrestling fan, or if it's like my first time watching, I don't know, watching SummerSlam tonight, and I'm watching Pat McAfee against Corey Graves. Pat McAfee against Happy Corbin. And I watched this. They gave us a good background. Okay, they were roommates and this and that. But then something as simple as that kind of slide under the ropes, under the ring that Corbin does, under the bottom rope. That little comment by Michael Cole saying, shades of the big boss man from SummerSlam 91. So if I'm a wrestling fan or a casual wrestling fan, I'm watching like, yeah, big boss man. Wow, yeah, that brings back memories. Or if it's the first time watching the show, I'll be like, damn, SummerSlam's been around since 91. I might have to go check it out. Or something, anything. Like you said, Mike, it's just in sync with the action. And throwing in those random tidbits, it adds a lot. And it helps so much.
And why wouldn't you want to talk about the rich history of that event and say like, you know, and think about like the history that's connected to it? Because I mean, like, you know, if you're just like tuning in on like a random year, it's like, oh, this is just another WWE event and there's nothing. I mean, like, yeah, SummerSlam's a cool name, but like, you know what, you know, why is this show so special? Like you would never be able to identify why the show is so special from watching the broadcast, unless you did a deep dive on Wikipedia or YouTube search and seen like retro reviews or something like that. You would never know that SummerSlam was like where the great moment with Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, and then the snake in the box, you know, like that great angle, or not Undertaker versus Undertaker. That was terrible. That was horrible. But like, you know, those the TLC match, like great stuff like that, like Brock Lesnar versus The Rock, or you know the Mega Powers versus DiBiase and Andre, or whatever. Or that the Ultimate Warrior won his first title at this event, you know, squashing the Honky Tonk Man, or Bret Hart won the Intercontinental Championship in one of the great wrestling matches, you know, well remembered of all time against Mr. Perfect. You know, you wouldn't know that these things happen.
No, and they mentioned something tonight for Lesnar during his entrance. They said this is the ninth SummerSlam that he has main evented, and that's the most out of any superstar ever.
Right. And then Michael Cole was like, when I was researching stats about this show, I'm going to give you a stat right now that you'll never believe. In Brock Lesnar's career, he's never competed in a last man standing match. And I was like, wow, that just added so much to it. Like that Brock Lesnar's coming into this match. Yes, by being Brock Lesnar, he has an advantage just by being Brock Lesnar, but he's actually disadvantaged in the fact that he's never been part of a last man standing match. You know, I thought there was just great storytelling right there. My God, beautiful. I loved it. Okay, so we talked a lot about this show. There's a few things that we haven't touched upon yet. We talked about Logan Paul and The Miz. We talked about the Raw Women's Championship. We even kind of talked about, you know, Bobby Lashley in theory a little bit. I think we did at least. Which is, you know, whatever. I think Bobby Lashley's being positioned for something big at some point here. We talked about McAfee and Corbin. I do want to, you know, talk about briefly the return of Edge and that no DQ match with the Mysterios versus the Judgment Day. I think if there was like one thing on the show that probably, I mean, like the Ronda Rousey thing, I didn't think the match was great. I thought it was rushed. I thought they, you know, and apparently they had to cut time from that match because Miz and Logan Paul went long. But the heel turn totally made up for everything, you know, and the fact that, you know, we have this finish that you can at least talk about, and, you know, what are they going to do? How are they going to work this? Like, that's okay. But, you know, it's like, once again, the Mysterios find themselves at like, you know, an event, you know, where they have a decent showing. You know, like I think about the WrestleMania match against Logan Paul and The Miz. But like at the end of it, you don't even remember that the Mysterios were there. Here, the Mysterios actually get a win, but totally and completely overshadowed by the return of Edge. And we knew Edge was coming back. We knew that he was that mystery guy. Victoria, we'll go with you first. I want to hear from Jerome as well about, you know, Edge. We talked about Ronda Rousey not really catching, you know, a great, not having a great second run. Edge is, you know, like you think about like Shawn Michaels, who ended his career in 1998 with a back injury, and then he came back in 2002 And if his career was just judged on what he did from 2002 to 2010, I think that's a Hall of Fame career in and of itself. Shawn Michaels has actually had 2 Hall of Fame careers separately from each other. That first run as the Rockers into, the Heartbreak Kid, into DX, into, until his back gave out. And then that second run from 2002 to 2010 was another Hall of Fame run where he was doing great work. Edge had a Hall of Fame first run. Is this a Hall of Fame second run? Because he I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it will take a little bit. I think initially when he first came back, definitely, was just so much around it because of the intensity behind his whole injury and life-threatening, stuff that he was dealing with. So, when he first came back, it was just like, whoa, I can't believe this guy's in the ring. I can't believe he's wrestling. I can't believe he's able to do this and get that second chance, I think he has potential, though. I think, listen, it's a little rocky right now, but he's Edge. So it will go back to that. And the name in itself will allow him to be able to turn this around. So even though it may not be like the most ideal situation for him to be in, it's still important that, that he will be able to do this just because of who he is. He will be able to find something again and get in that groove and that niche for him to be able to, be back to where maybe not fully to the level that he was and may not even be close to where he was, but at least involved to the point where it's like, okay, he's doing stuff that means something to him and is legitimate.
It's been 3 years though. 3 years since return. Yes, he the pandemic definitely.
I was gonna say the pandemic. You can't really
the pandemic certainly didn't help, and then he got injured during that and disappeared.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's been booked well, Jerome. Like, now that they're back with the fans, like he was getting face pops, but like he again, like this is where like Roman Reigns hurt. He got stacked up at WrestleMania and totally killed a lot of his credibility, and then he faced him at like Money in the Bank 2021 and got crushed. Like they had a long match, but it's still he wound up losing. Like, what do you think of Edge's second run here? Because to me, it's not there for me. I don't know.
Nah, I'm glad they took him out of Judgment Day. That was a bad gimmick for him to be involved in from the start. So I don't know where he goes from here other than he's going to feud with Judgment Day. And I hope that it's just a quick feud, a one and done, and he moves on to something else because this whole Judgment Day thing's just been a flop in my opinion. And the Mysterios are done with Judgment Day. I would think after the win at, tonight at SummerSlam. I was hoping that Dominic though would turn on his dad. I was hoping that would happen sometime in the match, but didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. We're past that point now, so I just think the Mysterios need to move on, and hopefully Edge moves on quickly, like I mentioned from Judgment Day, and gets into some feud that's going to have meaning for him to kind of revitalize his return, and then Judgment Day can just fizzle out and they can all go their separate ways. Finn Balor's boring. Damian Priest is boring. Rhea Ripley needs to be in a better program. Maybe they'll send her to NXT, repackage her, bring her back up to the main roster. I don't know. I just don't see her fitting in this whole gimmick. It just doesn't work for her.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Roy, what are your thoughts on Edge so far?
Yeah,
in 3 years. It's enough time to talk about it.
It is not a success. Far from it. I would say probably a failure. I know when he came back at the Rumble, it was a massive pop, well deserved. I like Edge. I'm a fan of his. Then they got the whole thing with Randy Orton and the greatest wrestling match ever. And I get it. It was a performance center and all that stuff. But it was kind of like, hey, they didn't know what to do with him. He got injured and then he came back and they weren't sure what to do with him. He won the Rumble. It was just, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. The greatest, I don't want to say the greatest, but ironically enough, the best thing or the most memorable thing, in my opinion, that Edge has been known for since coming back is not the greatest wrestling match. It's not the Royal Rumble win. It's the whole Brood theme music entrance. Ironically enough. And I think that kind of tells you a all there is to say about his return since coming back.
Yeah, he's like going back to a gimmick that like when it was actually like running with Gangrel, like wasn't a great gimmick. I mean, like I think people are like remembering like the entrance from WrestleMania 2000 and N64 that like, oh, they came up from a Ring of Fire. Oh, that's right, that was pretty cool.
No,
But watching it as it happened was not good.
nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
It is. And sometimes it makes you misremember things. You know, it's like, we're romanticizing something that really wasn't. It'd be like if they brought back the Ministry of Darkness. Oh, wait, that's Judgment Day. It wasn't good. It's not good. It's not good here. It's not good then. You know, it's like, come on, let's just end this. Bring it. But it's almost like he's like damaging his Hall of Fame contention here. You know, he was so good, you know, when he turned heel and became, you know, a main event guy starting like in 2006, I would say, up until his neck gave out in 2011. And that was a Hall of Fame. I mean, that was a Hall of Fame run. And as a tag team guy, that's a Hall of Fame career. You know, he had a great resume, but since he's come back, it's almost like, you know, it's like, I'm not saying that he's Michael Jordan. Okay, so let's just go right there. Edge is not like the Michael Jordan of wrestling, but you know, MJ was phenomenal. You know, he went away and retired after his dad was, you know, the thing happened with his dad and went to baseball. But when he came back, he still maintained that Hall of Fame run. But after he retired, you know, in the late 90s and came back for the Wizards when he bought that team, it was like he was bastardizing and damaging his all-time stats, you know. And it's like I feel like Edge is damaging like his perception, where it's almost like if he worked so hard and went through so much with the neck to come back, and this is what they had for him, was it worth him coming back?
For him, probably. Right, just to be
for him, yeah, so he can write his own chapter, but the creative,
gosh, no. And what doesn't help is obviously the bad storylines. Creative did not help. Injuries. Was there really a need for? I mean, he went away like a month and a half ago. Was there really a need for these video packages? And are they repackaging him? It's Edge. We know what he is. We know how he is.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, like, did they need to repackage Edge?
You know, he cut his hair. Cool, that's fine. You know, that's okay. I think I understand. I think what they were trying to do with the Judgment Day, maybe in terms of having Edge trying to mentor. I mean, not that Finn Balor is young, but having him maybe try to mentor Damian Priest and have a little stable, a little group going along. But it failed miserably, and then he went away for a month and a half. Comes back. I'm just glad he did not come back with Beth Phoenix and she didn't go after Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. You know, but I'm sure he has to look at, you know, what Christian's doing on AEW Dynamite, and Christian's gone through a little bit of a career resurgence. You know, cutting his you know, he's been healed. He's been cutting those, like, you know, definitely you know, shock value promos, you know, with Jungle Boy and stuff like that. But he's built himself up really well. And it's like, man, like, you know, like you look what Christian's doing with, you know, a second lease on his wrestling career and what Edge has done so far. It's like, you know, Christian in a short amount of time has, I think, fared probably better than Edge.
I think, though, honestly, I'm going to be optimistic, and I think it could turn it around. I do.
I do too.
Because I think it's Edge. I think if it was, and again, anybody else who just was somebody sort of random and sort of like mid-card and, you know, whatever, injury, really like debilitating and whatever, and coming back. But I think because it's Edge, it could turn around. Right. I really do.
I think Jamel, right to your point, Victoria says here, you know, like his feud with Rollins was done well, which I agree with. It was a good feud. But under the new leadership, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, I think that Triple H will, you know, I think he's going to be able to take, you know, veteran guys and use them way better than
and value
Vince
them
ever could. You know, like, I mean, like there's always that, you know, like you look at like a Raw Legends night and how many times legends have been embarrassed on these shows. It's like, you know, once you get to that certain age, Vince is done with you. And then, you know, you just kind of languish until your contract runs out or he fires you. Like there's always that story I remember vividly about Mad Dog Vachon, who legit had a wooden leg. He lost like half his leg like in a car accident. And so in the Minnesota area, they were doing a house show there, and they have Mad Dog get into the ring, and then they had Jerry Lawler attack him. And Vince, then then Jerry hears in the headset, Vince telling him, pull his leg off. Okay. He's like, okay, I'll go back in the ring. And he pulls Mad Dog's peg leg off, essentially. And then he's like, he gets back to the commentary again. I guess it wasn't a house show. I guess it had to be an actual show. And Vince is in the headset, hit him with his leg. No, beat him with the leg. It's like, that's how we treat legends. That's how we come on. Like that. I'm sure that was a funny ass angle, but indicative of, an ongoing symptom.
Maybe Vince was just trying to pull Mad Dog's leg. Just
I see what you did there.
Get a leg up on him.
Wow. I knew Jerome was going to come. This is where Jerome shines. This is where he shines. Oh man, that's a good one. I like that. Very good, Jerome. Very, very good. But Edge got a great pop coming back. It was a huge mistake to turn him heel. It didn't work at any moment of the entire thing, especially when once they started surrounding him with these dorks. And I'm hoping that as a face, he'll be able to recapture some of that, those big pops. He was getting big pops, and that did not diminish throughout this entire run. Whatever you think of the run, he was getting good pops. So, him as a face, that's way better, much bigger positive. And again, also add somebody back to the main event scene. Yes, it's still Roman. So that would be his third time running through Edge. But, if we get a new champion at some point, you got Edge as a face? Okay, I'll take that. Sheamus? Oh man.
He's like 40 now, 45.
I've been praying for Sheamus to finally get something going here, but what can you do? Finally, Jerome, you had talked before about this tag match with the Street Profits and the Usos and Montez Ford, and kind of zooming in on him and thinking that they were done. What did you think of the match tonight? Because I loved the match at Money in the Bank, and I had different feelings about this. I was wondering what you thought of it. What did you think of Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee?
The
show. I just noticed we're 2 hours.
Yeah. So I didn't expect a title change tonight with the tag titles. And I don't know what purpose Jeff Jarrett even served in the match. It really did nothing for me. And I found myself kind of getting up and changing my laundry and going into the kitchen and getting something to eat, because I just didn't grab my attention like the one at Money in the Bank did. The Money in the Bank match was much better. I thought it flowed better. The near falls were much better with that match. Tonight, didn't see that. It was predictable for me.
Victoria, what'd you think of it?
I know when you were talking about it, it didn't do much for you. And granted, maybe it wasn't, I still found it entertaining though. I still found that it wasn't as underwhelming as maybe a lot of people portrayed it to be, or perceived it to be rather, so I actually still enjoyed it for what it was. Regardless of maybe not as good as previous times, and maybe not as, I think a lot of people had a problem with it simply because, a lot of people knew Roman was going to win tonight, but I think it solidified when the Usos won. It was just like, okay, well, clearly, Roman's going to win. So, because they're going to play out somehow later that night. But overall, I actually enjoyed it. So, and I'm a huge fan of the Street Profits, and I'm actually a huge fan of the Usos too. So for me, it was good. Not my favorite match of the night, obviously, but it was still good, and I still felt entertained.
I thought, right at the beginning, as soon as they had to work Jarrett in, and they had to do it in such a ham-fisted way, I was like, oh man, it just for me that hurt the mojo of the match. Adam talked last Friday about, this great comment from Hunter Golden that Jeff Jarrett has found a way for his entire 35 plus year career to fail upwards. And, his being in the match, I think Jerome was right. Like, what purpose did he serve here? For me, it took away. There was nothing that, other than like it being in Nashville, to me, there was no reason why Jeff Jarrett had to be in this match. If he had even been presented on television even once as a WWE authority figure, it's like, or at least there's precedent here. But it was just like, Jeff Jarrett is going to be the special guest referee. Okay, why? Like, what was the purpose of the hat? Whoa, it's in Tennessee. Everybody loves him in Tennessee. Well, not really. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't feel that way.
Yep.
But again, failing upwards, he was in a big big spot tonight, but he'll be in an even bigger spot tomorrow in Ric Flair's last match. Like, my God, this guy it's unbelievable. like how he has had this career. It's like, you even think about like Impact Wrestling. He started like TNA, and somehow nobody ever would have predicted that Impact would last longer than would outlast Vince McMahon. It
outlasted WCW.
It went longer than WCW. Yes, it certainly did.
It's when they announced, because they announced Jeff Jarrett on SmackDown. When they announced it, I legit for 5 minutes had no clue whatsoever. Did not get the correlation between.
Right.
I didn't get it. And then I think it was actually Andrew that mentioned it, like, oh, well, it's because it's in Nashville. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, and I've been, I grew up watching Jarrett in the 90s and everything, but they could have mentioned anything. Like, hey, this is, even though he's not, they could have lied and said, this is Mr. SummerSlam, or this is someone that knows a lot about tag team wrestling, former tag team champion himself. Like, they could have said anything. They didn't. They literally just said, hey, special guest, Jeff Jarrett. And it added nothing to the match. If anything, it took something away.
That's how I felt. It was like, because part of like what made the Money in the Bank match so great was that they were just like, it was fast paced. They were running around. Like, I felt like Jarrett was like in the way sometimes. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like, oh, they had to like, get his spot in there. So he had to really draw it out, because I mean, that's what Jarrett does with everything he's ever done. Like, be extremely deliberate and draw it out. It's like, count to 5. That's when you stop. It's like, okay, all right, relax. Like, we get it. Okay, you didn't have to do it twice. Let him, like, he used that line like multiple times in the match. Like, good Lord. I don't know. It's just kind of lame. But I think Victoria's right. It wasn't a bad match, but like, when you see Money in the Bank, what they did at Money in the Bank, and then tonight was what you got, you're like, it does present itself as a disappointment there. Jerome, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say Jarrett, double B, double O, double R, double I-N-G, boring. So
nice.
Yeah, I just found it just blah.
Yeah, it just really, really, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me at all. Now, that's not to say that this SummerSlam didn't work for me, because I thought this was a phenomenal SummerSlam. So we're gonna ask the chat, because we're gonna get ready to get out of here. We've gone on quite some time tonight, and talking with these people here, like, I could talk to you guys all night, guys and gal here, guys and gals. There's a girl in Victoria too, about wrestling all night. So we almost have so far, but chat, I want to know thumbs up, thumbs down for SummerSlam. What'd you think of it? We're going to start with Mr. Roy Nemer. You give the show. I'm wondering what you're going to do, Roy. Are you going to give the show a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
I don't know. I mean, Roman Reigns' entrance took about 4.5 minutes. That's actually true, by the way. It actually did. It took about 4.5 minutes. No, easily a thumbs up. I mentioned this in the past. I'm going to mention it again. Generally speaking, WWE pay-per-views or premium live events, they tend to do well. The pay-per-views tend to do better than the Raws and SmackDowns, and this was absolutely no different. even with Jeff Jarrett and even with, in my opinion, SmackDown, the tag title match being not the greatest, even with that, easily the easiest thumbs up since WrestleMania, and I enjoyed this event from top to bottom.
Yeah, Jerome, what do you think of it?
So before I give you my opinion, I noticed something tonight that I'm wondering if it's going to become a thing under Triple H. Is the ring, the wrestling ring, did not have the LED monitors or display around it. It was the traditional old school ring apron. So I wonder if that might be a change Triple H is making. Anyway,
I think they did that just so they wouldn't destroy it with that tractor tonight.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true too. But it would add more. If they destroyed it, it would have been more fun. Anyway, I thought thumbs up tonight.
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah. I thought despite the few matches I didn't care for, which was the Lashley Theory match and the Street Profits tag team match, I give it a thumbs up tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I found myself standing up during the main event a lot. I actually stood up when Bayley came out because I was hoping there'd be a brawl, but it didn't happen. Thumbs up, definitely thumbs up.
All right, Victoria.
Clearly, it was a great show, and clearly I give it 2 thumbs up.
Oh, wow. Okay, 2 thumbs up. Very
yeah,
good.
no, I mean, listen, the stuff that didn't do for me wasn't like, oh my god, I'm bored of tears, like, please end, please stop, like, and I was looking forward to the main event, so a solid thumbs up. Great show.
All right, I am going to have to give it, to Siskel and Ebert 2 thumbs up here as well. That's a great callback. I've missed Siskel and Ebert. When they gave 2 thumbs up, you knew the movie was going to be good. Just everything about it was, like as when it started, I was like, oh, this is a good start to the show. And then as it progressed, I was like, we're watching something special tonight. And then the main event, which, kind of hurt that WrestleMania night too, with Brock and Roman, because it was so under delivered that for me I've looked back at WrestleMania night 2 compared to night 1 with WrestleMania night 2 absolutely was not even close to being as good as night 1. But tonight, Roman Reigns and Lesnar, if you truly believe in wrestling that this is for the last time, I have a bridge to sell you. But if it truly is the last time, what a hell of a way to go out. It was an amazing main event. It was so much fun to watch. It was so much fun to recap. Visually, audibly, all the senses were definitely, you really felt something watching that. I was on the edge of my seat at certain points. Like, is that it? Like, they're really going to put him down with a title shot? And then he got up and it's like, oh, he hit him with the other title. Oh my God, that's going to be it. That's it. And then he gets up again. It's like, and then they pile on. It's like, it's like, what's it going to take to keep Brock Lesnar down? That was like my thought. And Michael Cole was awesome. I know Daniel Schell's been wanting me to say this all night. For the love of God, count faster was such a great line. For me in my mind, it's like, that's like the modern day equivalent of, for the love of God, will somebody end the damn match? He's got a family, damn. It was like that might be Michael Cole's Jim Ross call. Who knows? But it was everything that you'd want in a major pay-per-view main event and more. So totally delivered. First show without Vince. Yes, I have to agree with Brett that I'm not convinced that Vince McMahon's hand isn't completely involved yet. He's still majority shareholder. He has some say still, I'm sure, but so it's going to be significantly less. I think this was a positive night. It felt fresh. It was the first pay-per-view without Vince. Truly without Vince.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe he's still pulling some strings from behind the scenes a little bit,
of course.
But he's not in control anymore. And it felt like he wasn't in control anymore with what you saw and what you heard. And what a damn fine thing that is with me. We got people in the chat room. I haven't seen any negative feedback about the show. Except for Hayden Barker, who just gives a thumbs in the middle just cause you gotta make a choice here. But I think Hayden's giving it a thumbs up. Quentin Walters gives the pay-per-view double thumbs up. Daniel gives it a thumbs. Triple H will make wrestling great again. Up. Nothing wrong with nothing with this show. Disappointed. Jamel is my favorite comment. Thumbs up. Consider me sports entertained for the evening. Michonne Walls, thumbs up. Jamel, Uncle Billy, Brett Farmer. Quentin Walters gives this show 5 thumbs up. I like that. That's our post show here. It's very good. It was a great show, and even, on Twitter, which is just the absolute bane of humanity, it's got 88% thumbs up even there. Even the most negative can't bring that one down. Still 12% of people still thought that they did not see a good show tonight. they need to have their heads examined.
I told you they need to get a different mindset. They need to get different strategies.
You're just a miserable person. Find a different show to watch. I mean, if you did not like this show, I mean, to be fair, some people just judge based on the result of the main event. And if you're tired of Roman Reigns being on top, maybe you did walk away with a different feeling than we did. But if you can, kind of separate that and just take it for what it was, great. Really, really great. Brett, we got another farmer here. We got the other farmer here. Good, but not great. Thumbs tentatively up. Wow. How about that? All right. We are going to get out of here, but we thank you all for hanging out with us for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes here. Wow. That's a long time to be talking about wrestling, but chat's been alive all night. We thank Andrew Elder for popping in here tonight and giving us his thoughts from being there live. Roy, I thank you, sir, for being here. Jerome, I thank you, sir, for being here. And Victoria and unborn daughter, thanks for hanging out and staying up all this time, because Victoria is chronically tired. So
tired.
You're working on stuff here, but it's Saturday night. I in my mind, I'm like, I got to take the garbage out now, but it's Saturday night. It's not Sunday night. I still cannot get used to these pay-per-views on Saturday. It's like so weird,
no work tomorrow.
Well, yes, I took off the weekend from church, so yes, I have no work tomorrow. Finally. But yeah. I know Jerome will be at work tomorrow, getting all the fallout from SummerSlam. We got Raw on Monday. There will be no post-Raw show for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be away on vacation, but we will return. I'm excited to. I got to tell you, I'm excited to watch Raw. I almost wish that we could do a post-Raw show this week, because that's how how many times I say I'm excited about Raw? Come on now.
Never.
Come on.
Not often. Usually after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
After WrestleMania, I get it. Yeah. It begins anew, All right, everybody. I'm Mike. That's Roy. That's Victoria. That's Jerome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Have a great night. Have a great Sunday. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.